Hey there, it's John Siskovich, and I want to share with you my 2015 budget for my 1.4 acre high trellis hop yard. So we're here in spreadsheet world, and I want to give you a quick overview, a very quick overview on hops before we get into the numbers, just because I know a lot of my audience, you guys, may not know some of the details about hops. So hops are used in the brewing process for bittering and for flavor. They're an annual above ground and a perennial underground. So that means every year we cut the hop bines back. They're a weed, essentially, that's been propagated over time, and it grows up like a bush. You prune it down to the few bines that you want. The bines wrap around coir, which is a coconut husk rope, up to a trellising system. We have a high trellis, so this pole right here, that's 18 feet in the air, this wire up here, and the hop vine is going all the way up to the top of that. And what you do is grow the plant throughout the year and then harvest these cones or flowers right here at the optimal time, dry them out, and then you can use those in the beer brewing process. And it's not even the flower itself that adds the bittering or aroma qualities. It's the lupulin that's inside that you can't see inside these leaves right now. Kind of looks like pollen, little yellow dust. And that has the alpha acids and essential oils that give you all the properties that you need for the beer brewing process. This is a brief look at my farm. These are my two greenhouses. This is the brewery itself. We have an on-site brewery. You can see some chicken tractors running in the field, which is awesome. This is just Google Maps for a Camps Road farm. And this is our 1.4 acres of hops. They are 250-foot rows, and we have 21 of them. So because hops take a couple years to establish, and ours have had a little bit of an different beginning. They didn't get quite the care and love that they needed, so they're a little behind where they should be. So based on when they were planted, what our yields were last year, I came up with a number that I can expect this year, and that is, scroll up, dry yield 250 pounds, wet yield about 1,000. Because you're harvesting the wet flower, or the flower, when it's full of moisture, it's heavier than when what your finished product would be. You dry it out and you get that 250 pounds. It's about a quarter of your wet harvest weight. Now I'm going to sell mostly wholesale to the brewery at a good price, and that's about $10 a pound for the dried hops, and do a little bit of retail for local people, home brewers. We'll also be selling hop starts and replanting a whole bunch of rhizomes in the hop yard, because there were some that didn't take, or some that got diseased and we had to pull out. Whatever the case may be, we've been slowly repopulating and filling up the hop yard. We had some drainage issues, and some of the rhizomes rotted because they weren't well enough drained, that kind of stuff. So I got 10% retail, 90% wholesale. Brings me, I always go over this number early in the video, to a gross of $2,700 and a net of $1,237. Low. It's very low. And this is a good video to introduce a concept that I have on my farm, where there's some things that I'm doing that aren't necessarily profitable now, but either will be profitable in the future, or lend something else very important to the farm or the other farm business, the other businesses that I work with on farm, and that's our on-site brewery or our off-site distillery. The fact that we can grow a certain amount of hops that we use in our brewery on farm, and eventually when it's at full production, it will cover most of the hops that we use, sets the brewery apart in its category and helps them, define their niche as a farmhouse brewery, because we have ingredients that are going in the beer that come from the farm. So that's where you have to strike a balance of, what are you doing? What is its intended purpose? And does the profitability or viability of that specific enterprise, operation, whatever you would want to say, area of your farm, does that make sense for your whole farm picture? By itself, the hops doesn't make sense for us to keep going. But as part of the whole farm picture and everything that we have going on, there's a lot of draw to our farm to see the hop yard, and we have a hop harvest festival now starting annually, that it makes a lot of sense holistically to keep this area of the farm. Even though just black and white numbers, it may not look so good right now, especially when we get into labor. So my numbers, like everything else, pretty straightforward. As I do, go over my notes and see, what we spent money on in the past and what we can anticipate in the future, I just add it into the equations on the spreadsheet, and it slowly kind of builds itself. So the big things: cost of goods sold, neem oil, BT, fish, seaweed, amendments and stuff. We did soil tests this year, and we definitely need lime. Hops require a lot of nitrogen, so we run chickens through there and chicken tractors. We also side dress with compost that we make here on farm. And that's all things that have to be accounted for. Every year you have quar and W clips that you have to put up so the hop vines can climb up them. We already have irrigation. We already have the poles. We already have the trellising system. So all of that capital investment is already done. And for the most part, the field is planted and has, is now established rhizomes. It's just up to us now to fill in the holes where the plants either died or didn't take, and, make sure they have a happy, healthy life growing up through the summer. So we'll go over to Cogs over here. Sprays 350, amendments 288, quar and W clips, and fuel because it takes some truck work, some tractor work to either dump compost or set up the quar. So I wanted to account for fuel as well. So that brings me to $1,500 cost of goods sold, and that would factor in. So when I have my gross of $2,750, take out that $1,500, and the net is $1,237. What isn't accounted for in this, and I've been taking it out of cost of goods sold and accounting for it in another area of the spreadsheet, is labor. Because labor, people's salaries are different, and we get a lot of volunteer labor. So what I did for labor was break down all the tasks that we have over the season, whether it's hours per week, hours per month, or hours per year. Like quar, we only have to put up once. And you can see 5 guys, 3 in the truck, 2 doing clips in 15 minutes per row, 20 rows, gave me the number of 25 hours for labor for hanging quar, and then at $12 an hour, $3.96. So I have an estimated labor number, whether it's myself